Welcome back to the Hearthstone Disenchanting guide for epics. Today we're having neutral epic cards. Last time we've covered all the class epics, you can go check that out. Before that we did all the legends in the game, all the neutral and class legendaries currently in the standard Hearthstone game. And today, to round out the series, we're looking at neutral epic cards. I'm going to give the disclaimer again, go look at the other videos if you have questions about that. We still advocate a rather aggressive dusting strategy, which means that cards that are just sitting around that you're not playing and that are pretty bad, you should get rid of. Some people are collectors, they don't really care about efficient collection management, they just want to have every card in the game and they'll hold on to everything. Okay, they might disagree with me, I definitely disagree with that, but that's fine. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at being efficient and getting good decks and having dust available. So let's get into this. Last video, neutral epics, and we're starting off with Mountain Giant. Mountain Giant is a definite keep. One of the best giants, arguably the best giant, and most frequently shows up. Currently good, always has been good. Pretty good target for Hall of Fame at some point, in which case you'll get full refund anyway. But until then, Mountain Giant you want to keep around. Big Bad Archmage is probably a keep. It's being ran in one control shaman at the moment that includes Muckmorphers, which we covered in the last video, among others. If cheated out, this is really strong. Generally, you don't want to play it for 10 mana, but if you can cheat it out, it's pretty good. Sea Giant is definitely a keep, probably the second best giant. Has some places in Zoo, or any deck that has a lot of small stuff which dies to kind of top out the curve. And sometimes you just get a very cheap 8/8. Batter Hat is probably dust. This card is decent in Arena, and sometimes can be almost a full board clear. The problem is that almost everywhere you want to play control, you have a better board clear available than Batter Hat for 8 mana. Splitting Fester Root is dust for sure. If you get all the death rattles off, the stats technically are value, but you really don't enough. And playing an 8 mana 4/4 is just not good enough. And it's too slow to be considered playable. Whirlwind Tempest is a very dubious one, and I'm going to say make up your mind on. I've seen it a couple of times, and it's most likely just a fun combo piece. Nothing that's going to make you a deck with over 50% win rate. It's going to be very good, but you can play it with stuff like the Walking Fountains, for example, the Shaman and Alakia the Windlord, and give your rush and charge win for your minions a pretty good boost. But other than that, this will not be consistent enough to do anything for you. So make up your mind if you want to keep it. Probably not very successful for ladder and competitive play though. Crowd Roaster is probably a keep. This goes into basically any dragon control style deck, mostly warrior. It's kind of the Omega Devastator of the dragon one. Omega Devastator is probably a better card because it's so much cheaper for the effect. But Crowd Roaster and Dragon Warrior, for example, Dragon Control Warrior is still pretty good. Linecracker, similar to Batter Hat, is a good arena card, but it's too expensive and too slow for what he does in Constructed, so he's probably dust. Starliner is definitely dust. Of course, he was involved in that Broken Wild combo with Psych Melon, Kun the Forgotten King, and Aviana when Psych Melon was released. But in Standard, there's absolutely no use for him, and that combo also now has been destroyed by the Aviana nerf, so Starliner, way too specific, not good enough, it's dust. Broken Abomination can be very good in Arena if you can use him well, and you get in correct situations, you can drain a lot of value out of him. But in Constructed, he's also probably dust because he's not strong enough, and you're not going to be able to set up the situations where he's good. For 7 mana, you have better stuff to play. Mossy Horror is definitely a keep. Now this guy has very good effect on the board and is a tech-ish control card in a lot of different decks throughout basically his entire lifetime. He was in the Evenlock. People ran him in a Death Rattle Hunter to a degree even to pop their own eggs. We had him most recently in our budget Mech Hunter. We had one copy of Mossy Horror to fill the epic slot there because of its versatility to flip games against Token Druid and Murloc Shaman aggressive strategies. He used to be very good against Odd Paladin when that was a thing. And you could also always activate your own 0 attack death rattles with this card. So Mossy Horror is very strong and you want to keep. Portal Overfiend is probably dust. Of course, if you want to be specific, he provides value, but it's too slow. and shuffling the portals that just show up with 2/2s somewhat later down the line are not good enough, so Portal Overfiend needs to go. Unseen Saboteur is the next one. I'm gonna say on this one it's probably a keep. It's one of the only tech cards we have for specifically spells, and I'm pretty sure that at some point, this card is going to be around for 2 years, by the way. At some point, there's going to be a comp 1 deck that specifically relies on a spell late in the game, and Unseen Saboteur can become pretty important in those. I've seen them every once in a while, not as much, but there's also no spell-dependent game-finishing combos right now. Azurite Elemental is Dust. 2/7 for 5 is not that strong, and the effect especially isn't good enough. You're not going to have this stick around for several turns to at some point become valuable. Spell damage in general is just usually not good enough to make anything happen, and for that stat line, not playable. Big Game Hunter is a keep. This often shows up in Control Warriors as a tech card. Most recently has, I believe, last expansion. Some Control Warriors can still play him these days. Some choose to play him in Control Warriors now over cards like a second weapon, not a weapons project necessarily, but over cards like the Upgrade and the Bomb Warrior, and definitely a possibility to tag into most decks. Some play him over saying an Omega Devastator, but Big M Hunter is definitely a classic that you want to keep around. EMP Operative, I'm going to say make up your mind. This seems like a very volatile card. When it came out, we said this is terrible because until then mechs hadn't been a thing. Now mechs are played a lot. I still haven't seen EMP Operative being played in any constructed deck, which makes me think that mechs still aren't dominant enough to justify that, and if they aren't now, will they ever be? I find that doubtful, but you can sit on this and see maybe at some point it become valuable. Faceless Manipulator is a keep for sure. This guy always comes into play when you want to copy specific cards. You had, for example, last expansion, a lot of the Carnivorous Cube, Voidlord action, the Control Warlock, and sometimes you even just want to get a second Malagos or a Valen for 5 mana, which is sometimes okay. I like the versatility of Manipulator also being able to copy opponents' minions. For example, you could be Lich King with a Lich King when Lich King was around. Right now, since not that much control is being played, Faceless Manipulator isn't seeing a lot of play, but he also would be an optional choice in the Control Warrior. Holomancer is absolute garbage. You want to get rid of him as soon as possible. Loose Specimen is also Dust. Slightly overstated, can be fine in Arena. If you play it on an empty board, it's okay. But for that one attack up or one defense up or health up from a vanilla stat line, the Battlecry too often will just disrupt what you're doing, so not good enough. Marshal Announcer is equally Dust. Can be good in Arena, but the 50 chance randomness is not going to justify this card being played anywhere in Constructed. It's a good solid 5-drop though, if you can draft him in Arena. Muck Hunter with kind of a similar thing again. Also, this is not that strong in Arena. This is also Dust. The battle cries aren't good enough because you always have to combo it out with something that can kill the Mucklings, and he only gets 2 health extra for summoning the guys, and he obviously has Rush, so he can take one of them out, but still then Muck Hunter doesn't provide anything that you want in a constructed deck. Sephorian Bomber is very much make up your mind. If you want to play strong Bomb Hunter, you could consider keeping this, but it's also an optional card in that deck itself. You don't have to run Sephorian Bomber along with your Clockwork Goblins and your Excaliburs. That's, for all intents and purposes, all that it takes to make that deck work. Some people who rely more heavily on bombs like to run the Sephorian Bomber deck. Snapshot Shellfighter is absolute Dust, meaning that really has never been played, and specifically because it's for 5 mana, it's too easy to kill. It's gonna die up pretty soon, and you really don't get into situations where you want this to protect something else. You'd rather play a taunt. Henge Clan Hag is probably a keep. Guy has a lot of versatility, especially the tokens that he summons have versatility because they're every tribe. They're like the Nightmare Amalgam, and so this is possible in a lot of decks. You can right now play this in Murloc Shaman and not look stupid while doing it. They have max synergies. They obviously have all the synergies, so this is going to be valid in a couple of potentially even mixed tribe tempo decks in the future, so you might want to hang on to this. Ice Cream Peddler from the Rastakhan expansion is Dust, even though they put a lot of effort in the card art, and it's pretty cool. You can actually look at that. There's like Murlocs and stuff in ice cream shape. They were pretty cool. Unfortunately, the card is terrible. and won't be played. Omega Defender is probably dust. You can get the effect off sometimes, but I've never seen justification to run this in a constructed deck. Now, sometimes you'll get it often in Discoveries, which makes it pretty good. Discovering top minions, for example. It's okay. Used to be pretty good sometimes if you grab it off of a Stonehill Defender late in the game for good value, but playing it in constructed, the stats aren't balanced enough, and to wait till turn 10 for a slight advantage, but usually nothing that's going to help you out major. So probably get rid of it. Sandminer, probably a keep. It was played in Shutterwalk to draw the combo elementals when that was a thing in the very early stages. Now Mage runs it to draw your mountain giants. And generally you have pretty strong elementals that you need for your deck idea, and Sandminer will always show up here and there to make some plays for you. Weaponized Pinata is probably dust, unfortunately. I love this card. It's one of the funnest cards in the game for sure. I love the idea. And it can do some random stuff, some very, very fun stuff. Sometimes you discover it, and then especially in Warrior these days, with all the mech discovery, and you can make some stuff happen with it for sure. Unfortunately though, in constructed, it's not good enough. Augmented Alec is a keep. It can shuffle, most famously, bombs, but you can use it to shuffle stuff into your own deck. You can use it with Pogo Hoppers and Rogue. You can use it with Academic Espionage for extra value, and its stats are vanilla, so worst case scenario, you're getting a good 3-drop. Blood Knight, I'm going to say make up your mind to not offend JJ right here, but seriously, that's what I would have rated this anyway. Famously patented by JJ in the Odd Rogue days, a revolutionary tech choice that he made to defend against Odd Paladin, and it worked out decently against that specific deck. Now you don't see a lot of it, and to me I'll dust it because it's an epic, and it's the dust that it will give me for dusting it isn't what I want to have sitting around, mostly doing nothing, because in 9 of 10 cases it's going to be a 3/3 on 3, which is not that strong, and I don't really want to include it in any decks. Drakari Trickster is probably dust. It's like the Alec vanilla stats, but its effect is pretty random, and usually that's not an effect that you necessarily want unless you run a trash deck yourself, which if you do that, then why? So Drakari Trickster looks interesting. It's vanilla, cool in arena if you can draft it. It's always a decent drop, but in constructed, it's just too inconsistent. You're not going to consistently gain great cards or combo pieces from your opponent. Magic Carpet is a keep, and a lot of people wouldn't have expected this, but in Zoolock it's pretty good, and with a lot of small stuff. +1 attack and rush is really, really good, and for being a 1/6, we said it's bad stat line, but that's kind of what it needs, because its survivability is pretty damn good. Darius Crawley won't kill it, Militia Commander won't kill it, so Magic Carpet is persistent, and it's good for its effect. You want to keep it around. Masked Contender, I'm going to say make up your mind. This is a tough one because secret decks can run it, but never had to. And that's always a kind of bad sign if a deck that is perfect for a card doesn't even really need to run that card. That's usually a sign that card isn't necessarily that strong. I'm going to say make up your mind. If you want to try it out in some secret decks, do it in Hunter or potentially Mage. Paladin is not valuable enough for the most part. You can try keeping him around, but he's nothing special and not necessary. Murloc Water Leader is a definite keep. You can go check out our budget shaman that we made a couple of weeks ago. Absolute key piece in every aggressive Murloc deck there was ever, and there ever will be, even after it got nerfed. Because it used to be even better a while ago, which was oppressively strong, but now it's still very, very good, and you want to keep it around for sure. Nightmare Amalgam is a keep because of its versatility. Vanilla stats and can go into everything. You can play it in every Murloc deck, you can play it in mech decks. It's a pirate, obviously, it's everything, so it's never really out of place, and because of that great versatility, usually it's Murlocs that play for the most part, but off discoveries he's never bad, so probably a good piece to your collection. South Sea Deckhand is also probably a keep. He was obviously the best during the patches days, during the crazy Pirate Tempo Rogue. Since then, he hasn't been played much, but he'll probably make a re-emergence when pirates become stronger, when more pirates are being printed, and become stronger as an aggressive class again. Untamed Beastmaster is the next one. A card that's kind of been underperforming. You read the stat line, you see the effect, you think this is pretty solid. And it is solid, but never over the top justified to play Constructed. I'm going to say probably keep it anyway, because decks will come around that might run this. And just as a value piece, as a good enough value piece, any mid-range-ish deck with a lot of beasts in it has good potential to run this. And I think at some point you might get use of it. Voodoo Doll is probably also a keep, very good control tool. Now right now, not played as much, mostly utilized by specifically the Big Spell Mage, the control mage before the expansion, and a Warlock to a degree. But the effect is still pretty good. Basically destroy an enemy minion on any given turn, because you'll always have activators with this card. Pretty versatile, so keep it around. Witch's Cauldron has probably lived through its best days when Odd Paladin was a thing. Right now, I'm gonna say make up your mind, but if you are someone who plays aggro and tends to go that direction and likes to gain some value out of stuff, Witch's Cauldron might be possible to tag into some decks before it rotates out. I'm not gonna guarantee that, it might not be, but chances are Witch's Cauldron is gonna be at least playable as a fringe optional card in some decks. Baleful Banker is probably a keep. We've seen him with most famously Shrivala and Archivist Elysiana. And he's one of the premier cards to just gain extra copies of very specific minions. Of course, people would or could also play him with Amara when that was a thing in the Quest Priest. It's always, oftentimes it's a debate between him and the Pandas, Youthful Brewmaster more specifically. And only in certain cases, like the Shrivala case, for example, you need stuff in your deck, but to either do that with a draw combo, or to get you further away from fatigue again, have you win in the late game, Baleful Banker is definitely a considerable option, and can't always be replaced by the Panda, so you want to keep him around. Doomsayer is a definite keep, stable in most control decks. Now, not played a lot these days, but will once again. Now, the Warrior really doesn't need him, the Control Warrior, which is the premier control deck right now, but I guarantee that Doomsayer will see play by the end of the year, and will consistently see play throughout almost every meta. Crystallizer is probably a keep. You can play her in Zoo, the Crystallizer. It's Dire Maul, it's not a beast, but Dire Maul basically got replaced by this. The effect is ever so slight upside, even though most of the time it won't really come into effect, but a 1/3 on 1 is perfectly fine, and you should keep it around. Gurubashi Offering is terrible. You want to get rid of this. Even if you gain the 8 armor every once in a while, it's just not good enough. And Hungry Crab is a keep, because Murlocs periodically show up, and Hungry Crab in decks that might not be just as fast, but still fast decks are going to be a key piece to gain board control and win that matchup, win that swing matchup against aggressive Murloc decks. I used to run this while in Midrange Hunter over a year ago, which in terms of pure speed wasn't quite up to level with the Murloc Shaman or Murloc Paladin. It was a lot during those times, and Hungry Crab really was the great equalizer in matches like this. So you want to keep that around. Important tech card in case the meta ever gets infested with Murlocs again to a high enough degree. So that's all the neutral epics in Standard Hearthstone right now. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Now, you can also go join our Discord server. The link to that is in the description of this video. You can talk to us, talk to our community, which is a fantastic and fast-growing community. We have a lot of great people in there, a lot of good players, a lot of newer players, beginners that are trying to get better. And if you're in that category, or you just want to hang out with some Hearthstone players, want to make some Hearthstone friends, maybe to help each other out with quests and stuff, you're welcome to do that. Join the Discord, link in the description. And yeah, please leave a like on this video. Go check out the other parts if you haven't done that yet. Obviously, the class and neutral legends and the class epics we covered previously. We're not going to be doing rares and commons. I've said it before. We generally recommend keeping those around because you don't draw a lot of value out of dusting them. If you have gold cards, obviously you want to get rid of them unless you have less than 2 copies of the regular one and are currently playing the golden card. Then wait until you get 2 regular copies, then dust the golden card. Sensible. We explain exactly the dusting strategies on that sort of case in the beginner's guide, which you might have come from there, you might have already seen it, but if you haven't, and you're a beginner in Hearthstone, definitely check it out. One of the best videos we've ever made for sure, and basically covering all the bases of what a newish player to Hearthstone needs to know about the entire game. So go ahead and do that. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think, some feedback. A like would be great, just so we know if we're doing good stuff here. So we'll hope to see you in the Discord soon, and we'll hope to hear from you on what we're doing. And we'll see you in the next video. JJ.
That's it.
That's it.